Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Class 12th, subject economics. Our topic is concept of aggregate demand. What is the concept of aggregate demand? Aggregate demand means AD. Concept of aggregate demand. AD refers to desired expenditure, or we can say planned expenditure on the purchase of domestically produced goods and services during an accounting year. Concept of aggregate demand AD refers to desired expenditure. Or in other words, we can say planned expenditure, on the purchase of domestically produced goods and services during an accounting year. Aggregate demand refers to desired expenditure. Aggregate demand क्या है? Aggregate demand is the desired expenditure. Or planned expenditure. It is not unplanned, it is planned expenditure on the purchase of the expenditure on the purchase of domestically produced goods and services. जो domestically हम produce करते हैं goods and services, इनका जो एक्सपेंडिचर है जिसको हम कहते हैं डिजर्ड एक्सपेंडिचर और प्लान्ड एक्सपेंडिचर ड्यूरिंग एन अकाउंटिंग ईयर. एक अकाउंटिंग साल में जब हम देखते हैं कि व्हाट इज़ द डिजायर्ड एक्सपेंडिचर और प्लान्ड एक्सपेंडिचर ऑन द परचेज ऑफ domestically produced goods and services, it is known as aggregate demand. Or we can say demand in economics, we can say demand is measured in terms of expenditure. Demand is measured in terms of expenditure. Aggregate demand means aggregate expenditure. Aggregate demand means aggregate expenditure on the purchase of domestically produced goods and services during an accounting year. However, this expenditure is to be estimated as the desired expenditure. This expenditure is to be estimated as the desired expenditure. Or we can say it is planned expenditure. Of the people, or expenditure that the people wish to make on the purchase of goods and services during an accounting year. In short, we can say aggregate demand means aggregate expenditure on the purchase of domestically produced goods and services during an accounting year. However, this expenditure is to be estimated as desired expenditure or planned expenditure. इस expenditure को हम कहते हैं desired expenditure or planned expenditure of the people, or expenditure that the people wish to make on the purchase of goods and services during an accounting year. This is called aggregate. This is concept of aggregate demand. There are components of aggregate demand. There are 4 components. Number first is C. C means private consumption expenditure. C, private consumption expenditure. Number second is I, private investment expenditure. Number 3 is G, that is government expenditure. Number 4 is X minus M, means net exports. Net exports. There are 4 components of aggregate demand, that is C, private consumption expenditure, I, private investment expenditure, G, government expenditure, X minus M means net exports, However, we can say that AD is measured in terms of, जब हम एग्रीगेट डिमांड मेजर करते हैं, हम इसको मेजर कैसे करेंगे? एग्रीगेट डिमांड इज मेजर्ड, हेयर वी कैन से AD इज इक्वल टू, AD किसके बराबर है? C प्लस I प्लस G प्लस X minus M. ID is equal to C means private consumption expenditure plus I means private investment expenditure plus G means government expenditure plus X minus M means net exports. AD is measured, AD is equal to C plus I plus G plus X minus M. And that is all for today. In our next video, I will make to understand you what is private consumption expenditure, what is private investment expenditure, what is government expenditure, what is net exports. It will be our next video. Thank you for today.